The Vrexian warship Dominance Absolute hung in the void like a predator's fang. 3 kilometers of plasma-forged alloy and graviton arrays that had reduced 17 civilizations to ash. Commander Zelkith Var stood on the observation deck, her chitinous fingers drumming against the viewport as she watched the small blue planet rotate beneath them. "This will take 4 hours," she announced to her second-in-command. "Maybe 3 if they resist poorly." Tactical Officer Vryn clicked his mandibles in agreement. Preliminary scans confirm what the collective's intelligence suggested: primitive chemical propulsion, early nuclear fission, electromagnetic communications that leak into space like children screaming in the dark. They call themselves humans. Zelkith Var had conquered 42 worlds in her career. This one would be 43, and it would be disappointingly easy. The planet's dominant species had barely left their own gravity well. Their most powerful weapons were fusion devices that would merely scratch the Dominance Absolute's shields. They had no energy barriers, no gravitational manipulation, no quantum entanglement communications. They were, by every measurable standard, helpless. "Begin the descent," she ordered. "Target their largest population centers. We'll vaporize 3 cities, then broadcast the surrender terms." Standard protocol. What Zelkith Var didn't know, what none of the Vrexian collective's vast intelligence network had discovered, was that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology. It was their spite. In a bunker 700 meters beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Webb watched the alien vessels approach on a dozen screens simultaneously. Beside him, Dr. Sarah Chen gripped the tablet so hard her knuckles had gone white. "How long?" Webb asked. "They'll be in firing position in 8 minutes," replied Colonel James Reeves, his voice steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead. "NORAD's tracking 300 smaller craft deploying from the main vessel. They're taking up bombardment positions over New York, Beijing, and Mumbai." Webb nodded slowly. He was 63 years old, had served in 3 wars, and had never expected to see something like this. None of humanity's contingency plans had prepared them for enemies from beyond Earth. Their satellites had barely detected the Vrexian fleet before it entered lunar orbit. "Launch everything," Webb said quietly. Reeves turned sharply. "Sir, our missiles won't even—" "I know, Colonel. Launch them anyway." Because here was the thing about humans that the Vrexians would learn too late. Humanity had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing things stronger than themselves. Mammoths, cave bears, each other. They had looked at impossibility and said, "Not good enough." Across the globe, missile silos opened. Submarines surfaced. Strategic bombers that had been scrambled hours ago released their payloads. Hundreds of nuclear warheads arced toward the Vrexian fleet, their trajectories bright lines across every military screen on Earth. Zelkith Var watched them come with something approaching amusement. "Kinetic interceptors," she ordered with a dismissive wave. The Dominance Absolute's point defense systems activated. A web of precision lasers that could track a pebble moving at relativistic speeds. Each human missile was targeted, calculated, and destroyed. The nuclear detonations bloomed like brief flowers in the void, beautiful, harmless, and utterly futile. "As expected," Mithrum reported. "Primitive atomics. Our shields weren't even engaged." "Proceed with pacification," Zelkith Var commanded. The first Vrexian plasma beam lanced downward, a column of star-hot fury that touched down in the Atlantic Ocean 50 kilometers from New York City. The ocean flash-boiled. A mushroom cloud of superheated steam rose 15 kilometers into the atmosphere. Tidal waves radiated outward. It was a warning shot. Zelkith Var activated the global broadcast system, hijacking every communication device on the planet simultaneously. Her translated words echoed in every language, in every home, in every bunker. "Humans of Earth, you have witnessed a fraction of our power. You have 13 minutes to signal your complete and unconditional surrender. Failure to comply will result in the systematic elimination of your species. Choose wisely." In the NORAD bunker, Webb watched the countdown timer appear on every screen. 12:59, 12:58. "General," Chen said softly, "there's something you should know." Webb looked at her. Dr. Chen was one of DARPA's top researchers, a physicist who had been working on classified projects he only half understood. Her expression was strange, not afraid but intent, as if she were doing calculations in her head. We can't win this fight, she said. Not directly. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. I'm aware, Doctor. But they made a mistake. Webb raised an eyebrow. What mistake? Chen pulled up a different screen. One showing telemetry data from the destroyed missiles. They used energy weapons to intercept our missiles. Directed energy, coherent particle beams, essentially. And when they fired that warning shot, their ship emitted a gravitational signature. Meaning they're using technology we don't have, but it's still technology. It follows rules. Rules we can measure. She typed rapidly. When they destroyed our missiles, my team was watching. We weren't just throwing nukes at them, General. Every missile was a sensor package. Every detonation was a data point. Something shifted in Webb's expression. You were studying them. 16 seconds of active weapons fire. Chen continued, her words coming faster now. That's all we needed. Their energy shields operate on a rotating frequency to disperse incoming fire across their surface. Their point defense systems have a 12-millisecond delay between target acquisition and firing. Their main plasma weapons draw power from a central core that creates a brief, and I mean incredibly brief, fluctuation in their gravitational field when charging. Webb leaned forward. Can we exploit any of that? Not with what we have right now, but… Chen hesitated. There's something else. When they hacked our communications, they had to interface with our systems. They're arrogant, General. They didn't bother with any real security protocols. Why would they? We're primitives. What did you do, Doctor? Chen smiled, and it was not a nice smile. I hacked them back. Aboard the Dominance Absolute, Vryn was monitoring the countdown when his console flickered. Just once. So briefly he thought he'd imagined it. Commander, he said slowly, I'm detecting unusual activity in our communications array. Zalkith Var glanced over. Define unusual. There's traffic. Data packets moving through our system that I didn't authorize. His mandibles clicked in confusion. It's coming from the planet's network. But that's impossible. Their technology can't interface with ours without… Every screen on the bridge went dark. Then they blazed back to life. But instead of Rexian tactical displays, they showed a single image. A human face, pale skin, dark eyes, and an expression of cold fury. General Marcus Webb stared out at them from every surface. Hello, he said in English, which their translation systems automatically converted. I thought we should talk. Zelkith Far's combat implants surged adrenaline through her system. How? Your communications system has a vulnerability. Webb interrupted. When you broadcast to our entire planet, you had to open a channel. We found it. Walked right through. Your security is impressive, but… He smiled. You assumed we wouldn't be clever enough to try. It doesn't matter, Zelkith Var hissed. Weapons control is isolated. You can display your face on our screens all you want. In 9 minutes your cities burn. I know, Webb said. I know we can't stop you. Not with the weapons we have. Not with the technology we possess. He leaned forward. But here's what you need to understand about humanity, Commander. When we can't win a fight the normal way, we change the rules. Empty words from a dead species. Maybe, but before you kill us all, I want you to know something. Webb's smile widened. We've spent the last 12 minutes learning everything about your ship. Your shield frequencies, your weapon cycling times, your power distribution systems, your gravitational engines. Chen here has been feeding all that data to every computer network on Earth. Chen appeared beside Webb on the screen. We can't beat you today, she said. But every human who survives your attack will have this information. Every engineer, every physicist, every researcher. You're showing us your homework, Commander. And here's the thing about humans, Webb continued. We're really good at homework. We went from the first powered flight to walking on our moon in 66 years. We split the atom in a single generation. We went from computers the size of rooms to supercomputers in our pockets in 30 years. His expression hardened. So even if you wipe out 90% of us today, the survivors will have everything we learned about you. Your technology, your capabilities, your weaknesses. Zelkith Var felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Unease. We'll rebuild, Webb said softly. Maybe it'll take us 10 years. Maybe 20, but we will reverse engineer every piece of technology you've shown us today. We'll figure out your shields, your weapons, your engines, and then, he paused, then we're coming for you. Impossible, Vern breathed. The technological gap is too vast. You would need centuries. We've gone from bronze swords to nuclear weapons in 5,000 years, Chen interjected. We've had agriculture for 10,000 years and computers for 70. We accelerate, Commander. It's what we do. Every generation is smarter than the last. Every decade brings exponential growth. Webb stood, and something in his bearing made him seem taller. So here's my message, Commander. You can kill us today. You probably will. But you're not fighting one generation of humans. You're fighting every generation that comes after. You're fighting children who will grow up with your technology as their bedtime stories. You're fighting engineers who will make what you have today look primitive. You're fighting a species that has spent its entire existence climbing the food chain by refusing to accept that anything was impossible. The countdown reached 7 minutes. Fire your weapons, Webb said. Take your cities. Claim your victory. His eyes were chips of ice. But know that you've just given humanity a target. And we never, ever forget who hurt us. The screen went dark. Zelkithvar stood frozen for a moment. Around her the bridge crew looked uncertain. Finally, she turned to Vorin. Analysis, she demanded. Vrin's voice was subdued. Their intrusion into our systems was sophisticated. Not advanced, but creative. They exploited vulnerabilities we didn't even know existed because we've never encountered a species that would think to look for them. He paused. Commander, they're right about one thing. They are learning, and they're learning fast. How fast? I've reviewed their technological development history from the data we collected. In their last century alone, they've progressed faster than most species do in 10. Their advancement curve is, he struggled for the word, aggressive. Dangerously aggressive. Zelkithvar looked at the planet below. Billions of humans, most of whom would be dead in the next hour. A primitive species that should have been a footnote in the collective's expansion. But Webb's words echoed in her mind. Commander, Vrin said quietly, we should consider the implications. If even a fraction of them survive with the data they've collected about our systems, if they truly do advance as quickly as their history suggests, they'll become a threat, Zelkithvar finished. The two Vraxians looked at each other. A countdown showed 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Recommendations? Zelkithvar asked. Vrin's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Complete extermination. Every human, every settlement, every structure. Scour the planet with plasma fire until nothing remains but glass and ash. Make sure none of them survive to use what they've learned. It was the logical choice. The safe choice. The choice that would guarantee the Rexian collective remained supreme. But somewhere in Zelkithvar's mind a small voice whispered, what if they've already spread the data? What if it's too late? Alternatively, Vorin continued, we could retreat. Report back to the collective that this world is not worth the resources required to pacify it. Mark it as too primitive to pose a threat and leave it for a later generation to handle. And if they advance in the meantime, then they become someone else's problem. Zelkithvar considered both options. Through the viewport, Earth rotated serenely, unaware that its fate hung in the balance. Commander, the weapons officer reported. We have firing solutions locked, awaiting your order. This should have been simple. 43 worlds conquered. 43 victories. This should have been the easiest of them all. But Webb's face lingered in her mind. That cold certainty, that absolute conviction. That willingness to accept defeat today if it meant victory tomorrow. Commander? The weapons officer prompted. Zelkithvar made her decision. In the NORAD bunker, Webb watched the countdown reach 5 minutes. Around him, officers and researchers waited in silence. They had done everything they could. Thrown everything they had at an enemy that could swat them aside like insects. Chen stood beside him, still gripping her tablet. Sir, she said softly. Whatever happens, we got data. Good data. If anyone survived, they'll make sure it was worth it, Webb finished. He placed a hand on her shoulder. You did well, Doctor. Humanity's proud of you. The countdown reached 4 minutes, then 3. Webb closed his eyes and thought of his daughter in Seattle, his grandchildren in Tokyo. He thought of every human across the planet watching their final minutes tick away. He hoped they would face it with courage. He hoped they would. The countdown stopped. Every screen in the bunker flickered, then displayed the same message in English. Tactical withdrawal initiated. Phyrexian Collective claims no further interest in Earth disintegration. Terra 35-6. Return engagement probability minimal. Webb stared at the words, not daring to believe them. Sir, Reeves said, his voice shaking. Satellite imagery confirms. The alien fleet is... They're leaving. They're actually leaving. The bunker erupted in chaos. Officers shouted. Researchers wept. Someone started laughing hysterically. Webb remained still, reading the message over and over. Then slowly, he began to smile. Dr. Chen, he said quietly, I need you to do something for me. Anything, sir. That data you collected on their systems. I need you to distribute it. Every university, every research facility, every garage inventor and basement engineer. Make it public. Free. Available to anyone who wants to study it. Chen nodded. Are we really going to do what you said? Build our own versions of their technology. Webb looked at the screens showing the Rexian fleet accelerating away from Earth, running from an enemy they could have crushed. Doctor, he said softly, humanity just stared down extinction and made our killers blink first. We did it with nothing but words and the promise of who we might become. His smile widened. So yes, we're absolutely going to do what I said. And when we're done, when we've turned their technology into toys for our children, when we've built ships that make theirs look like rowboats, he paused. Then we're going to pay the Rexian Collective a visit, just to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's children. Somewhere in the depths of space, Zelkith Var watched Earth shrink behind them and wondered if she had just made the greatest tactical decision of her career, or the worst strategic mistake in Rexian history. Only time would tell. And humanity, it turned out, had all the time in the world. The Rexian Collective's high command chamber was a cathedral of cold efficiency, its walls lined with holographic displays showing the conquered territories that stretched across 47 star systems. Fleet Admiral Korfan Zex presided over the assembled commanders with the confidence of a species that had never known defeat. Until the message arrived. Impossible, Korfansis hissed, his neural implants struggling to process what he was seeing. This data must be corrupted. But Commander Zelkith Var, promoted to the High Command after her successful reconnaissance of the Sol system 18 years prior, knew better. She had been dreading this moment since the day she ordered the retreat from Earth. The holographic display showed a sight that defied every calculation the Collective had ever made. A human fleet, not cobbled together chemical rockets, not primitive fusion drives, real warships, sleek and deadly, their hulls incorporating technology that shouldn't have been possible for a species decades away from interstellar capability. There were 37 vessels, each roughly half the size of a Rexian destroyer, and they were holding position just beyond the Collective's outermost colony at Kepler 42 waiting. How? Korvax demanded. How did they advance this far in less than 2 decades? Zelkith Var had asked herself that question every day since leaving Earth's orbit. Now she finally had an answer, and it terrified her. They didn't advance, Fleet Admiral. They erupted. She pulled up Earth's timeline, data collected by long-range observation drones that the Collective had left behind to monitor the supposedly primitive world. 3 months after first contact, humanity had activated its first gravitational engine. A crude prototype, but functional. 1 year later, they had operational shield technology. 2 years after that, their first faster-than-light test vehicle had successfully jumped to Proxima Centauri and back. This acceleration rate is beyond any recorded species. Tactical Savant Vryn reported, his voice hollow. The average civilization takes 200 years to progress from basic spaceflight to FTL capability. Humanity did it in 36 months. Explain, Korfan Zex commanded. Zelkith Var had been preparing this briefing for years. When we engaged Earth, they managed to penetrate our communication systems. It was a minor intrusion, tactically insignificant, but they used it to gather detailed scans of our technology. Shield frequencies, power systems, weapons architecture, information that would have taken them centuries to develop independently. You gave them a blueprint, Korfanzek said, his voice dangerously soft. I gave them inspiration, Zelkithvar corrected. But what they did with it, that's pure human ingenuity. They didn't copy our technology. They understood the principles and then improved on them. She highlighted specific details in the holographic display. Their shield systems operate on a multi-layered frequency-hopping algorithm that our weapons can't easily track. Their HFY drives use quantum tunneling in ways our engineers claim violates thermodynamics, except it clearly doesn't, because they're here. Their weapons appear to be kinetic plasma hybrids that combine the penetration power of railguns with the thermal damage of directed energy. You're saying they're more advanced than us? Korfanzek's tone dripped with disbelief. No, Fleet Admiral. I'm saying they're more creative. They take ideas and iterate on them faster than any species we've encountered. Each generation of their technology improves on the last at an exponential rate. Zelkithvar paused, and they remember grievances. As if on cue, a transmission request appeared on the main display. The sender identification simply read, Terran Expeditionary Fleet. They wish to speak with us. Van observed needlessly. Korfanzek straightened. Then let's hear what these upstart primates have to say. Accept the transmission. The holographic display shimmered, and a human appeared. She was younger than General Webb had been, perhaps in her early 40s, with skin the color of dark earth and eyes that held the same cold certainty Webb's had possessed. Her uniform was clean and utilitarian, marked with insignia that the Rexian translation systems identified as Fleet Admiral. Greetings, Rexian High Command, she said in flawless standard collective, their own language spoken without accent or hesitation. I am Fleet Admiral Amara Okonkwo of the Terran Defense Coalition. We've come to discuss terms. Korfanzek's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Terms? You arrive at our borders with 37 ships and speak of terms. We have 14,000 vessels. Your entire fleet could be vaporized in minutes. Okonkwo's expression didn't change. Yes, you could destroy us, just as you could have destroyed Earth 18 years ago. But you didn't. Fleet Admiral, you ran. Would you like to know why? Enlighten me. Because Commander Zelkithvar realized something that day. Something that kept her awake at night. I'm guessing. Okonkwo glanced at Zelkithvar. Hello, Commander? Or should I say Fleet Commander? Congratulations on the promotion. Zelkithvar felt exposed, as if those human eyes could see directly into her thoughts. She realized. Okonkwo continued, that humanity's true weapon isn't our technology. It's our refusal to accept limitations. You came to conquer us because we were primitive, weak, easy. But you showed us what was possible, and that was your first mistake. Your second mistake, a different voice added, was leaving us alive. Another human appeared on the display beside Okonkwo. This one was male, older, with silver hair and cybernetic enhancements visible along his jaw. The translation systems identified him as Dr. Kenji Tanaka, Chief Science Officer. After you left, Tanaka explained, we studied everything. Every sensor reading, every scan, every microsecond of your weapons fire. We reverse-engineered your technology. Sure. But more importantly, we understood the limitations of your thinking. He pulled up technical diagrams that made the Vrexian engineers in the command chamber lean forward involuntarily. Your shields operate on rotating frequencies because you're trying to disperse incoming energy across your hull. Elegant, efficient, but predictable. Our shields use quantum uncertainty. They exist in multiple frequency states simultaneously until the moment of impact. Your weapons can't lock on because there's nothing to lock onto. Your FTL drives bend space-time, added another human. A woman identified as Engineer Victoria Reeves. Very energy-intensive. Very impressive. Our drives create temporary wormholes using exotic matter we synthesized based on the gravitational fluctuations your engines produced. Faster, cleaner, and we can jump from anywhere. You need special jump points. Korfanzek felt something alien and uncomfortable settling in his chest. Doubt. You're bluffing, he said. Attempting to intimidate us with theoretical superiority. Demonstrate your capabilities or withdraw. Okankonko smiled. Of course, Fleet Admiral. Lieutenant Commander Chen. A young woman appeared. So young she couldn't have been born when the Rexians first came to Earth. Yes, ma'am. Please show the collective what the Vindication can do. The display split to show exterior feeds. One of the human ships, a sleek destroyer with lines that reminded Zelkith Var of an Earth predator she'd once seen in their databases. A shark, they called it, began to glow. Vindication is our newest design, Okonkwo explained casually. We named her after the feeling we got when we finally figured out how to weaponize dark energy. Your scientists said it was Poti. Ours said it was Tuesday. The ship fired. What emerged wasn't a beam or a projectile. It was an absence. A line of space where reality seemed to fold in on itself. The shot crossed the distance to a nearby asteroid in the Kepler-42 system and touched it gently. The asteroid ceased to exist. Not exploded. Not vaporized. Simply stopped being, as if it had been carefully edited out of reality. We call it the erasure cannon, Tanaka said cheerfully. Works by compressing dark energy into a beam that temporarily increases the expansion rate of space-time in a localized area. Matter caught in the field is spread across infinite distance in zero time. One moment you're there. Next moment you're everywhere, which effectively means nowhere. Silence gripped the Brexian High Command chamber. Now, Okonkwo continued, her voice still pleasant. Let's discuss terms, and before you consider attacking, you should know that each of our ships carries an erasure cannon. We also have another 68 vessels in reserve across 4 nearby systems, and another 200 under construction in Earth's orbital shipyards. We've been busy. Korvan Jix found his voice. What do you want? Reparations. Primarily. When you fired that warning shot at Earth, you triggered a tsunami that killed 4 million people. Coastal cities destroyed, ecosystems devastated. Children orphaned. Okonkwo's pleasant expression never wavered, but her eyes went cold. We want compensation. We also want formal recognition of humanity's territorial claims to the Sol system and all systems within 30 light-years. Finally, we want unrestricted access to collective trade networks and technology exchanges. That's surrender, Korvan Sek spat. You're demanding we treat you as equals. No, Fleet Admiral. We're informing you that we are equals. The demand is that you acknowledge reality. Okonkwo leaned forward. Here's what happens if you refuse. We demonstrate the erasure cannon's capabilities on one of your colony worlds, not the inhabited sections. We're not monsters, just the military installations. Then we ask again. If you still refuse, we escalate. We keep escalating until you either come to the negotiating table or until we've erased every military asset the collective possesses. You would start a war you cannot win, Zelkithvar said quietly. 37 ships against 14,000. Even with superior technology, 37 ships here, Okonkwo interrupted. But Fleet Commander, you of all people should understand. We're not just one generation, we're every generation. While you've been expanding slowly, cautiously, maintaining your empire, we've been growing exponentially. Our population has increased by 3 billion since you left. We have 6 colonies in our local systems now. We're building ships faster than you can count them. She stood, and somehow the gesture made her seem larger than the hologram should have allowed. 18 years ago, General Webb told you that humanity never forgets who hurt us. He was right, but he didn't tell you the rest. Her smile was sharp as broken glass. We also never forget who challenged us. You showed us the stars, Fleet Admiral. You showed us what was possible. You threatened everything we loved and then ran away, leaving us alive and angry and inspired. So we did exactly what Webb promised. We rebuilt. We learned. We grew. Okonkwo's voice dropped to something almost intimate. And now we're here, with weapons that scare us as much as they should scare you, with ships that break your understanding of physics, with an entire species that spent 18 years preparing for this exact moment. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. You came to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, you created your own worst nightmare. A species as technologically advanced as you are, as militarily capable as you are, but with something you've lost over your millennia of dominance. We have motivation. We have drive. We have memory of being helpless. and we will die before we're helpless again. Korvan Zex looked at Zelkith Var. Your recommendation? Zelkith Var had spent 18 years gaming out this scenario. She had known it would come, known that her decision to retreat had simply delayed the inevitable. But seeing it unfold still felt like watching a singularity form, terrible, awesome, and utterly beyond her ability to stop. Accept their terms, she said quietly. Every word is true. I reviewed their development personally. They're not exaggerating their capabilities. If anything, they're probably hiding more advanced weapons they haven't revealed yet. That's cowardice. That's survival. Zelkith Var snapped. Fleet Admiral, look at what they accomplished in less than 2 decades. 2 decades. Now imagine what they'll accomplish in 2 centuries. In 2 millennia. This isn't a species we can conquer. It's a species that will consume us if we try. She turned to face Okonkwo directly. You're right, we showed you what was possible, and you exceeded it. You took our technology and made it obsolete. You faced extinction and turned it into evolution. Her mandibles clicked in what might have been respect. We accept your term. Korvan Zex looked like he wanted to argue, but the erasure cannon demonstration had clearly shaken him. Finally, he nodded. Agreed, we will draft a formal treaty. Already done, Tanaka interjected, pulling up a document. We've taken the liberty of preparing a comprehensive agreement covering reparations, territorial recognition, trade access, and non-aggression guarantees. It's quite thorough. We had 18 years to work on it, after all. Despite everything, Zelkith Var felt a mandible click that was almost like a laugh. These humans had planned for every contingency. They had known the collective would accept terms because they had made refusal impossible. One more thing, Okonkwo said. We're going to need your help. Korvan Zex's posture stiffened. Explain. You've conquered 47 systems. You have vast experience with alien species, with different environments, with the complexities of interstellar governance. We're new to all this. We've got the technology now, but we lack experience. We'd like to establish an exchange program. Rexian advisors attached to human fleets, human observers with collective forces, learn from each other. Maybe in a few generations we won't need weapons pointed at each other to feel safe. You want to infiltrate our military, Korvan Zex said flatly. We want to learn from you and we want you to learn from us. Okonkwo corrected. Because here's the truth, Fleet Admiral. We're not the only new species reaching for the stars. There are others out there, probably dozens, maybe hundreds. Some will be peaceful, others won't. When the real threats emerge, the swarm, the machines, whatever horror is waiting in the dark, we're going to need to work together. She leaned back. So yes, this is intimidation. Yes, this is us forcing you to the table with weapons that shouldn't exist and ships that broke your models of what's possible. But it's also an opportunity. You can be the species that tried to destroy humanity and got erased for it. Or you can be the species that met humanity, adjusted to the new reality and helped prepare the galaxy for whatever comes next. Carnage Hall looked at her fleet admiral, silently willing him to see what she saw. This wasn't a defeat. This was a chance. Humanity had demonstrated that cooperation could yield exponential results. What could the collective accomplish if they channeled that same creative fury instead of fighting against it? Korvan Zex was silent for a long moment. Finally, he clicked his mandibles in the gesture of acceptance. We agree to your terms. All of them, including the exchange program. He paused. But know this, Fleet Admiral Okonkwo. The collective has survived for 3,000 years by adapting to threats. If humanity proves to be a danger, then we'll deal with it together, Okonkwo interrupted. Because that's what allies do. That's what survival requires in a universe this dangerous. She smiled. Besides, Fleet Admiral, think of it this way. Now you have access to all our technology too. Our engineers will trade notes with yours. Our scientists will collaborate. You showed us the stars, we'll show you how we learned to reshape them. The transmission ended, leaving the Vrexian High Command in silence. After a long moment, Vren spoke. That was either the beginning of a beautiful alliance or the setup for our eventual extinction. Both, Zelkith Var said quietly. It's always both with humans. Aboard the TDF Triumph, Fleet Admiral Okonkwo, allowed herself a small smile as the transmission cut. Behind her, Dr. Tanaka whistled softly. "Think they bought it?" he asked. "Bought what?" Every word was true, sure, but you didn't mention the other 300 ships completing trials next month. Or the new weapons systems that make the erasure cannon look like a flashlight. Or the fact that we've already seeded surveillance drones in 6 collective systems. Okonkwo's smile widened. "They're our allies now, Kenji. We don't spy on allies. We absolutely spy on allies. Yes, but we call it intelligence sharing. Completely different." She turned to her command crew. "Send the signal. Begin Phase 2 of Operation Handshake. I want full diplomatic teams in collective space within 3 months. I want joint exercises scheduled. I want every human ship paired with a Rexian observer and every Rexian ship carrying a human liaison." "You're really going to trust them?" Lieutenant Commander Chen asked. "No. But I'm going to act like I do, and they're going to act like they trust us. And somewhere in all that acting, maybe we'll figure out how to actually trust each other." Okonkwo looked out at the stars. "Webb bought us 18 years by making them afraid. We're going to buy the next century by making them partners. And if we're very lucky, by the time the real threats show up, we'll all be too busy building impossible things together to remember we were once enemies." She thought of General Webb, dead now for 6 years, and silently thanked him for having the courage to threaten genocide if it meant humanity survived long enough to choose peace. "Set course for Earth," she ordered. "We've got a treaty to ratify and a future to build." "What do we call this era?" Chen asked. "The history books are going to need a name for what just happened." Okonkwo considered. Humanity had gone from near extinction to galactic players in less than 2 decades. They had transformed threat into opportunity, terror into motivation, and an enemy's attack into a species-wide awakening. "Call it the Ascension," she said finally. "The moment humanity stopped being alone in the universe and started becoming who we were always meant to be." As the fleet turned toward home, carrying the weight of a treaty that would reshape the galactic balance of power, none of them noticed the small probe that had been watching the entire exchange. A probe built by neither humans nor Vrexians. A probe that now transmitted a simple message across the vast dark between galaxies. "Alert! New species detected. Technological advancement rate exceeds predicted parameters. Threat assessment extreme, recommend immediate intervention." And somewhere in the cold between stars, something ancient and vast received that message and turned its attention toward a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The Vrexians had been humanity's test. Now the real exam was coming. But that, as they say, is a story for another day. For now, humanity had won the right to stand among the stars. They had proven that impossibility was just another problem to solve. They had looked at species millennia older and decided they could do better. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all.